What's going on, ladies, gents, and kids of all ages? It is Eric coming back at you once again from the Nerd Cave, and today we have another awesome deck tech video for you. Thank you so much to the people who have subscribed recently. We're getting ever closer to that 2,000 subscriber mark and another big giveaway, so definitely stick around for that. Make sure you're dropping those comments to get entered into future giveaways. You never know when we're going to do one, and look back on past videos. Talk to us about the deck list. Talk to us about deck lists you like. I'd love to hear what you guys are playing, if it's something similar to this, or if it's something totally different, or you think the choices that I made are not the best or awesome. Definitely always let me know. And thank you as always to the Patreon supporters who make those giveaways possible. You guys are the real MVPs, and I could not do any of this without you because I'm a small YouTuber. We didn't make anything. Finally opened some Shimmering Skies packs. I do have a bunch of these cards now, but I am still missing a few cards from this list. So we are going to be talking about this in Dreamborn style again, but without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump over to Amber Ruby Royalty. So the first card we're going to be running in this deck, and this is going to be a 3 of for this particular list just because it is uninkable. I was pretty high on the uninkable count, and it's not necessarily a deck that's super hyper focused on drawing, although it can draw cards okay. And that is going to be Daisy Duck Donald's Date. Whenever this character quests, each opponent reveals the top card of their deck. If it's a character, they put that card in their hand, otherwise they put it on the bottom. Could actually be a pretty positive ability against certain decks that are maybe like item heavy or action heavy. Not everybody's playing 60 characters unless they're playing Mufasa. You definitely don't want to play this card in Mufasa. It's not inkable, so in that matchup it is not great. But in pretty much every other matchup is very good. It is a 1/4 for 1, quest for 2, pretty crazy stat line. Then we do have the Queen Royal Monarch. Still think this card is great for its shift ability. You can get the shift down on turn 2. This is a 1-cost 2/2 for 1 shift target. Got 3 of those in there. We do also run 3 Vanellope Von Schweets, 2/2 for 1, quest for 1, same stat line as the Queen. You may have guessed it is also here to be a shift target. And then our last shift target and last 1-drop, that's right, we're running 13 1-drops in this deck, so it's very heavy on the 1-drop count, is going to be Mulan, Injured Soldier, 2/3 for 1, quest for 1, comes into play with 2 damage on it. You know it, you love it. Still a great card in my opinion. Then in our 2-drop slot, we are only playing 1 character here. We do have an item and an action that's going to cost 2, so we do have some other things to do on 2 potentially. But we got Queen of Hearts, 2/2 for 2, quest for 1. It's got Rush. Again, another shift target. This deck's fairly shift heavy if you haven't picked up on that. Then we do have Ariel, Singing Mermaid, 4-cost, 3/3, quest for 2. This is going to be your way to play Be Prepared on turn 5 against those hyper aggro decks. So she can be really, really helpful. This deck isn't super heavy on songs, so we're not playing the 3-cost Ariel. The next card in the 4-cost slot for our characters is going to be Rapunzel. Everybody knows this card, 4-cost, quest for 2, 1/5. The price on this card has been going up recently, so I do think Rapunzel is a really good card in the current meta. I think people are excited about it going into this meta. I think it's maybe in a better position than it has been. It still dies to Brawl, so it's a little bit mixed stuff there going on, but if everybody's playing hyper aggro, that's not going to matter anyway. Or Sapphire. I think a lot of people are going to be playing Sapphire. There's a lot of good Sapphire cards in the new set. But when you play this character, remove up to 3 damage from one of your characters. Draw a card for each 1 damage removed this way, so potentially healing for 3 and drawing you 3 cards, which is crazy. Then we have 2 Vanellope Von Schweets. So this is our shift for Vanellope. She does come down on turn 2, which is great. 2/4 quests for 2. And whenever you play another princess character, all opposing characters get -1 until the start of your next turn. We do have several princesses in this deck, so it's definitely something you can take advantage of pretty regularly. Then we do have our Queen shift line. We have 3 of these guys also coming down as a shift for 2 5-cost character, quest for 2, and whenever this character quests, chosen opposing character gets -4 this turn, and chosen character gets +4 this turn. So really great card. So she's just really good. She is a 4/3 stat line. Not a lot of people are playing damage type removal. Some people are playing steel. Obviously that 3 is definitely going to be a hurdle for those decks. A lot of times they're looking at dealing 2 to you with those steel cards. They can play 2 of those damage cards and get her off the field. If they're playing Grab Your Swords, it's going to be hitting your whole board, so it's not as much of a feel bad for them. That being said, they're typically going to need to use 2 damage cards or a damage card and an attack to get her off the board, or just straight up challenge her. 4 in the front, so she is going to dodge things like Brawl and even Medusa, which is fantastic. And she comes down on turn 2. What's not to like about the Queen? Then next up in the 5-drop slot, we are playing 4 Maui Hero to All. I think he's fantastic in any Ruby list. Like, this is a queen princess deck, and I've still fit in 4 Mauis because I just think he is that good. He's a bomb when you need him. He deals with a lot of location. Dare I say, the best Ruby character in the game, like at all, in my opinion anyway. Then next up in the 5-drop slot, we do have our shifters for Queen of Hearts, also shifting down for 2, costing 5 normally, for 3, like we just talked about with that stat line. It's going to stay away from some things. It is a queen. It's going to fulfill that need in the deck, and whenever one of your characters challenges another character, you may draw a card. So that's going to be very good to be able to kind of keep you in the card draw, to keep up with some of those decks that are drawing an absolute ton of cards. Then we have 3 Lady Tremaines, Imperious Queen. I am playing Lady Tremaine over Madame Medusa because she is a queen. She is a 3/4 quest for 2. That's also very relevant. She quests for 2 instead of 1 like Madame Medusa. And she is going to make your opponent banish their own characters, so she gets around Ward, which can be really good if your character has a big board. She's less good. She's not really your answer into hyper aggro. You're going to be looking at getting those Be Prepareds out in that situation. Then we do have 3 Mulans for our shift onto the small Mulan. Shift for 5, 2/6, quest for 2. But when you shift her, she's going to get +3, so she's going to be a 5/6 for that turn only. And during your turn, whenever this character damages another character in a challenge, doesn't have to banish them, she's going to be able to go ahead and do the same amount of damage to 2 additional characters. If you're shifting onto a damage Mulan, which may not always be the case because you may be able to take advantage of Rapunzel earlier in the game, she is going to be coming down and potentially only doing 1 attack anyway, so the fact that she's a 2/6 in that next turn isn't really going to matter a lot of times. So I think Mulan is really good. I think she's really good in the current meta. The 2/6 stat line is rough because she does die to Brawl, but like I said, she's generally coming down and doing her thing right away and then getting out of there. If not, you're probably going to anchor, especially if you're playing against somebody running Brawl. Last up for characters in the 7 slot, we are running 2 Wreck-It Ralph, 6/7, quest for 2, and when you play this character, return a character card from your discard to your hand. If the character was a princess, you're going to be able to go ahead and gain 2 lore, which is a great way to get some sneaky lore at the end of the game or towards the end of the game. Also, he is a 7-cost character, so he is going to be able to sing Be Prepared. So if you need to re-establish board, deal with their board, all in one turn, because you're typically not going to have more than 7 ink with this deck, you're going to be able to go ahead and sing that Be Prepared with Wreck-It Ralph. He's going to be really hard for them to out before he is able to do that because he has a 6/7 body, so a lot of their targeted removal really isn't going to do anything to him, and he is going to survive into that next turn to sing Be Prepared. You know, singing Be Prepared is not relevant. He's a quest for 2 with a 6/7 stat line, which is crazy. Then in our actions, not songs, just actions, we are running 4 Brawls. Brawl is still very good. I think it's definitely relevant to the current format. A lot of big characters in the current format with 2 or less attack, so Brawl is going to be really good. Then in the songs, we have 9 songs in this deck. Again, why we're not running Ariel. We do have 2 Bare Necessities to go ahead and pull away those Be Prepareds from our opponent, as well as some of those locations and stuff like that that you may want to deal with. 2 Be King Undisputeds to, again, deal with some of those characters. It is singable, which is going to be really good. I do think this card could potentially be good with Prince Naveen, but because I was playing so few songs that are going to take advantage of him, I did opt to not have Prince Naveen in this deck. There's not a lot of 6-cost songs in these particular colors, so he's hard to take super good advantage of. I do have 2 Look at This Family, kind of a dark horse choice, but that Ariel, who is singing our Be Prepared, is going to sing this for free. Plus, it's not that hard to get so many characters down on the board to sing a 7-cost Sing Together song. You're going to be able to put 2 characters in your hand and look at the top 5 cards of your deck, so it can be a super favorable swing when you get it down. And then, of course, like I mentioned, songs-wise, we are playing Be Prepared, so we do have 3 Be Prepareds. You know it, you love it. Banish all characters. It's going to be that board reset that you may need sometimes to be able to go ahead and get your characters out in a clear board and just start questing in and hopefully reestablish your victory. And then the absolute last card we are playing in this deck, we are running 4 Queens Sensor Core. This is kind of the basis of the deck with the princesses and the queens. It is a 2-cost item. It is a 2-cost item. At the start of your turn, if you have a princess or queen character in play, gain 1 lore, and you can pay 2 and tap it. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a princess or queen character, you may put it in your hand, otherwise put it on the top of your deck. You may not always be hitting princess or queen characters with that ability, but because the draw is so very limited with this deck, it's still going to be really good. If you're in that point in the game where you have no more cards in your hand, or you have one card in your hand and you just have extra ink open, it's kind of no reason not to do it. So you might as well pay the 2, look at your top card. If it's a princess or queen, great, put it in your hand. If it's not, that's fine, because you had the ink open anyway. So it's a good ability to be able to take advantage of on a pretty regular basis. I think a lot of people are going to be playing item hate, so we're going to see kind of how that goes. If you're playing somebody who's heavy into item destruction, maybe Queen Center Core won't be getting the value you would like it to in certain instances, but I do still think it is very good. That is the deck list. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Daisy Duck is as crazy as everybody else seems to think she is? I think Daisy Duck is fantastic. Maybe there's an argument for going to 4 of, but she is not a princess. You are looking at 35 characters that are either princesses or queens in this deck, so it's pretty heavy on the princesses and queens in the deck. Specifically, as far as princesses are concerned, we're running 19 princesses in the deck, so a little over half of that 35 is going to be princesses specifically. I think the deck's a lot of fun. I've been having a good time with the playtesting of it. I do have a couple proxies in there to be able to playtest the deck, but I'm having a great time with it. I think it's pretty effective. It is obviously less of a budget deck because it is running 4 Rapunzels. It's honestly about half of the cost of the deck. It's about 160 bucks to the cost of the deck, and it is running 4 Mauis, so that's about another 40 bucks. So if you want to take this down from a $330 deck to about a $190 deck, you could look at cutting the 4 Rapunzels to play 4 Juliet and Madrigals instead. They're only going to draw you 1 card. They're going to have a weaker stat line. They're only going to quest for 1, so it's honestly a bit of a sacrifice, but if you're trying to keep the deck more in that budget range, that is one of the places you could cut some fat. Also, Maui is, I think, about a $12 card, so you can cut out about another $25 worth of cost with removing 2 Mauis and playing 2 Hercules instead. Hercules is uninkable, so it is going to increase your uninkable count, but he is also going to one-shot a Queen's Castle, which is kind of cool. So there is some give and take with Hercules. He can be pretty good, so that would get you down more in the like $180 to $190 range for this deck, which, as far as I'm concerned, anything under $200 in a TCG, especially a TCG that's 5 sets deep, is a budget deck. I know not everybody may agree with that, but I think that's the case. Definitely comment below if you disagree. But that is the deck for today. Had a great time putting this one together. I'm going to have more awesome decks coming at you. I have 2 decks I'm working on right now, and I'm pretty excited about them. I'm going to be playing them at League next week. I'm going to be playing one. John's going to be playing the other. But as always, thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And when you see those toys, video games, and sweet, sweet Lorcana decks off in the distance, remember, it is not a mirage. You guys have a great day.